Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to today's Reddit Quickie video, taken from the HFY subreddit. The story is called Crazy Enough to Work, written by AntiMoneySquandering. The link to the original will be down below, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Otherwise, I may have to send an invasion force of ancient aliens wielding Gatling lasers to have a little conversation with you later. What the hell is all this stuff? The human screwed up his face up as a bitter taste of liquid that still clung to his throat. His alien companions seated at the table all laughed in discomfort, save for the soul of the human who eyed her own drink with a healthy measure of distrust. The first stopped wiping his mouth when he noticed. No way. You have a drink, good Saren. No witching out. The aliens hollered in agreement as Saren stared daggers at him, taking a deep breath before downing the bright yellow liquid in front of her. That's frickin' awful, she gaped, grabbing the less offensive beverage from a nearby and chugging it heavily. She slammed the bottle down and stabbed an accusing finger at the human comrade. You're a prick, Sam. You know that. Sam protested his innocence as pointing his finger moved, passing Sam down an eye-stalk-wide spin-tock until it rested on a grinning vennett. His fur was unusually bright and ginger. And screw you in particular, twin. Your shot. The vennett glanced down at the glass that lay in front of him, its contents identical to which was residing in the protesting stomachs of the humans. He looked back and picked up the fangs with one cold claw, his prehensile tail reaching up to slide the drink over to the quiet spin-tock. Unfortunately, twin cannot furl us. The drink is poisonous to Ben's kind. Saren paused, frowning to him before glancing over at Sam, who was shaking his head and trying to suppress a smile. Bull crap. Okay, fine. It's not poisonous, it just tastes disgusting. Right, you're drinking it. Where? Saren looked over where the spin-tock blinked at her guiltily, its long tongue snaking out from the now empty glass. It burped softly, emitting a honey-like scent of contentment as it apologized. Sorry, Saren, but villain nectar is delicious. It is not my fault that the inferior species have such an undeveloped palates. The spin-tock flinched as the vennet's long tail suddenly draped over its body, its spines rising slightly in response to lifting it partially into the air. Twen's palate is to meet spiky one, no less insults, yes. The spin-tock's thin glance released a bitterer aroma as it reflects its nerves, until Sam reached over and patted him on one of his long ears, causing him to snarl back before breaking into a growling laughter. As the others joined in, another vennett strode over, slamming down a tray of drinks that it had been carrying. Two overturned and flooded the table, causing some to drip over Saren, who jumped angrily. Oh, come on, Lila. I bought this outfit specifically for our first proper outing in the outer space. What even is this? You're paying to have quiet, Fergus. Lila snarled as Twin sat up straight in her tone, his many eyes now searching for threats in the dingy small tavern that they found themselves in. Lilia caught the gaze and flicked her gaze towards the Durham, her claws drumming nervously on the table. Lilia just heard from the others at the bar. There is a derelict Reavers here, coming to this place. Twin swore. His tail was now whipping angrily behind him as the spin-tock's spine stood nearly straight up in alarm. Sorry, what? A drallid what? Sam asked, taking advantage of the confusion to grab one of the still full drinks and taking a swig. The reptilian aliens. We've seen hollows of them, but never seen them in person. Big bastards. The two vennets ignored him, growling at each other quietly, at their tails thrashing aggressively through the air. Saren followed Sam's lead and also grabbed a full drink, wrinkling her nose at the rotten smell now coming from the squirming spin-tock. They're part of the council, right? So, what's wrong? Twin and Lilia snarled at each other for a moment longer before the female vennett violently addressed the nonplussed humans. The species has joined us, yes, they are still, pockets of resistance. They have long history as warmongering race. Lilia's people do as well as the Drilliad. More so, some of these have resorted to piracy, living as they claimed their ancestors did. They take great pleasure in ignoring the terms of the council. There are not many. They are hunted down swiftly, often by their own kind. They tend to not be the, smartest members of their species. Many Dralid denounce them as idiots stuck in the past, but it's bad news if they're here, Sam finished, concern finally crossing his face. What are our options? We can run. The Spinnertalk squeaked, his spines rattling gently against his head, his eye stalks wavering as he looked around the group. The vennet automatically grunting their aversion, flexing their claws. Their constant glances towards the small bar doors betrayed their true feeling. I guess fighting is out of the question. Did anyone even bring a gun? Saren asked, glancing around at the waists of her companions and shaking her head. I thought this was a safe place. Normally it is, Furless, growled Twen, baring his fangs as he spat on the floor. The odds of Dralid Reavers turning up? The aliens continued to growl and increasingly agitated. The sole vennet behind the bar now holding some sort of large weapon in his claws. His thrashing tail and Twen's dismissive look suggested that it would prove ineffective, if it was even intended to fire lethal shots. Sam looked at Saren and raised an eyebrow, biting his lip slightly. Crap, you've got an idea, don't you? Saren sighed before he could speak. Fine, let's hear it. Sam turned to the wider table, banging his fist down until they all turned to look at him with varying expressions. What do you guys actually know about humans? The alien stared back at him in silence, potentially wondering if their translators had grown faulty, as they tried to connect the question with the current predicament. Saren mirrored their expression before a small grin spread across her face. I would say that we've grown to know more since our travels together, the Spinnertalk offered in a small voice, the two vennets still staring quietly. But you have not been here long. We would certainly know less than the other sentient species, I would wager. And the Reavers, they're cut off from the council more than the other Dralids, right? Saren asked, aiming her question at Lila, who flicked her ears back, confused. Yes, the Reavers refuse to join a relative civility of the council offers, she admitted, her black tail showing the gradual weave through the air. They have no interest in such matters. So they probably have never met a human before. Sam finished for Saren, matching her now enthusiastic grin, though both were tinged with a hint of hysteria at what they had planned. Unfortunate for them, given humans are some of the most dangerous sentients to ever walk this universe. The Vennet glanced at each other for a moment, blinking, before turning to watch Sam and Saren stroll over to their own table, adopting deliberate, relaxed poses. But you're soft, Taven said. Squidgy, Lilia added. I find you a little imposing, offered the minuscule Spinnertalk, downing another shot of bright yellow liquid. I know that, Saren said exasperatedly. Remind me to play you guys in poker sometime. The aliens continued to stare blankly at the humans until Saren sighed angrily. Just play along, we're terrifying, we're the worst. A Dralid is nothing compared to us. But Lilia began, stopping with a slight snarl with two large aliens ducked into the bar. They strode in aggressively, the large talons in their bare feet clicking loudly on the floor. They stood taller than the vennets, meaning that they towered over the humans. The nearest one turned to face the table with the vennets and Spinnertalk, flexing its powerful scales, arms, and hissing, the noise echoing around the silence that had descended on the bar. Its comrades began to laugh, dragging its claws down the table as it walked further into the room. It stopped, cocking its head slightly as it looked over the two humans seated on their own. Saren stared back, hands entwined behind her head as she rested her feet on the table in front of her. Sam forced out a laugh of his own and stood up, keeping his eyes locked on the large lizard as he made his way to the table with his friends. And what the frick is this thing meant to be? The bar returned to silence as the patrons collectively held their breaths, while the Dralids tried to work out if it could possibly have been addressing to them. The one in front swung its ponderous head back to look at the other, whose tongue flicked out and shrugged its heavy shoulders. What did you say? What are you, creature? Sam risked a small sigh of relief and raised himself up to his unimpressive full height. What am I? Are you deaf, alien? I don't see any ears, so you might be. What am I? He turned and thumped his fist on his friend's table, causing the three aliens there to jump in shock. something he played up to immediately. "I'm talking to you, you furry frick. What am I?" The Ven's lips bared back before he managed to repress the snarl, forcing himself to dip his snout down and answer meekly, though his tail whipped in the air behind him. "Human," he muttered, the louder when he realized that the Drellets could likely not hear him. "It's a human for the clan's sake. Don't anger it." Sam winked at Taven, who ignored him, keeping his head down. "First time meeting a human, is it? Well, maybe we'll let you live then. Spread the word. Let us live," the Drellet further back said slowly, trying to make sense of what was being said to it. It looked around the room, but it was empty save for the still relaxing Saren and the bar alien, who, to his credit, had decided to play along, and now aimed his weapon at her rather than the lizard-like aliens. The Drellet took this in, scratching at the leathery fold at its snout with a wickedly curved claw. "You do not look like a Redditor species." Sam laughed again loud as he was able to, and Saren joined in, kicking the chair over and jumping to her feet. "Look like a predator species. You never been to our neck of the galaxy, aliens. If we looked too predatory, well..." She strolled over to Lila, slapping the small hand onto her muscled, furred shoulder. Lila made a passable imitation of flinching under the touch, even offering a small whimper up. That would give the prey the chance to get away before we had our fun, wouldn't it? The Drellets looked at each other once more, the lead alien even taking a few steps back so that they can converse in private. As they did so, Sam carelessly flicked the Taven's ears, causing him to yelp in real pain, his body shaking as he struggled to control his anger. Seeing the Drellets watching, he instead knelt beside the chair, throat revealed, and extended his light sign of submission. The Drellets stood back, blinking amber eyes as the two odd humans. "You have no fangs," one pointed out, baring its own, as if to help them understand. "No claws. Hung up on that, aren't you? Our species are known for letting you think that we would be an easy kill, luring you in. Humans have more ways of killing you than you have scales." She turned to the Spinnertalk, eyes wide in the hopes that it would pick up her meaning, and thrust her neck forward aggressively, sending a globule of clear spittle flying out and land on the alien. The Spinnertalk did nothing at first, causing the eye stalks to fall limply onto its head, letting out a painfully high-pitched scream and sliding from the chair to fall prone under the table. Saren then turned to the Drellets, both now slightly crouched and hissing at her as she stepped slightly closer. "Do you know that I've never used it on your kind before? It works on every other alien species we've encountered, but perhaps it would be fun to check. And we only need one of you alive to spread humanity's name, after all." The two Drellets hissed louder. The one took half a step towards Saren. She held her ground, staring up at the 7-foot lizard, though Sam noticed her back legs shake slightly. Before it could escalate, he stepped out from the table. "Such a primitive tool," he announced loudly, drawing the scaled alien's attention back to him. "Fun, yes, but you don't seem to understand, aliens. We are the apex predators of the universe. We have mastered things that you couldn't dream of. We could kill you without coming anywhere near you." Sam turned his gaze to Lila, winking with the eye hidden from the Drellet. He then raised one hand to his head, squinting his eyes and putting in as much emphasis into his glare as he could. After a moment, Lila began to whimper, growing into a resounding scream as she dug her claws into her own head, hard enough to draw a trickle of blood, and crashing to the floor, convulsing for a few minutes. The Drellets hissed louder as Sam removed his hand from his head, smiling at the aliens. They looked at each other and made a gesture. The one nearest the door turned sharply and fleeing. The other followed suit, but not before it hooked the chair with its claws and flung it behind, catching Saren in the side as she dived to avoid it. She crashed heavily to the floor and Sam ran to her side, looking up to see the Drellet had noticed the hit. Luckily, it seemed to have been a tactic to cover their escape, and the bar was now empty save the humans and the non-scaled aliens. Sam lifted Saren to her feet, who winced as her arm hung limply. "Ah, crap. I think it's broken," she muttered. touching it with a good arm and swearing, and the pain flared up. The Vennett and the Spinnertok had now gotten back to their feet, Lydia dabbing away the blood matted in her fur. Saren smiled despite her broken arm. "Bloody good job, team. I didn't know you had an acting experience. We'll have to set up a show on the ship sometime." "What was that?" Tanal snarled, his tail still twitching. "Lies. We survived because of human lies. Twen does not understand how that was successful." Sam threw Saren's good arm over his shoulder and helped her towards the door, keen to leave before more curious aliens appeared. He called over his shoulder to Twen, as aliens reluctantly followed them. "We humans have a saying, Twen. One that probably sums up our entire spacefaring journey to date, actually." He paused to throw the grin back at the nonplussed aliens. "Just crazy enough to work." End of story. If you wish to support the author or the channel, all the relevant links are down below. But the easiest way would be to share this like a plague to everyone and anything that you can think of. And until the next video, I hope that you all have a good time, and I'll see you then. Cheers.